In this week's drive, we drop in for some new rubber on a DTM, fall down in some sand on a KTM, see the right way to buckle up a youngster, and look at a drop-top TriStar. All this and more in this week's drive. The start of the Formula One season is almost here, and with it, the first Grand Prix to be staged in the Middle East. Bahrain hosts the third race on the calendar at a brand new circuit just outside the capital. Ahead of the race, a Sauber thundered through the streets as a taste of things to come for Middle East motorsport fans. The team were the first to run one of the most powerful race cars in the world in the region when they paraded last year's C22 car along the King Faisal Highway in the capital, Manama. 10,000 spectators crammed alongside the highway as Sauber's test driver, 19-year-old Swiss Neil Jani, powered up and down the closed section of public road. The point of all this is to promote the race that will take place at the purpose-built track half an hour's drive from the city centre. The circuit at Sakhir is already being talked of as one of the best in the world, and that's before it's even complete. At 5.4 kilometres long and with an estimated average speed of 210 kilometres an hour, a modern Formula One car is expected to complete each lap in just over 1 minute 33 seconds. The new venue will have a shorter inner circuit for club racing and will also welcome dragsters on a strip just behind the main grandstand. Plans are in hand to establish a race school, so perhaps the Middle East will soon have its first homegrown Formula One star. The builders will hand over the circuit to the organisers a month ahead of the race, and His Excellency Sheikh Fawaz bin Mohammed Al Khalifa, the chairman of the circuit, is happy with progress.
We are 95.5% completed, and I think most of the buildings currently been completed, transformed to contractor to furnish these buildings. Furniture will be completed by the end of this month. Most of the current works are in landscaping, so that will be an ongoing process even after the Grand Prix, and we're quite confident that the main contractor will deliver circuit on the 7th of March date.
Several of the Formula One teams have already sent deputations to Bahrain to look at the track and the facilities. Sauber would seem to have gained some useful information about conditions. If nothing else, fine, wind-blown desert sand will need special filtration if those handmade engines are to survive. On April the 4th, 20 cars will take their place on the starting grid for the first time, and as they roll off the line, a new and exciting chapter in the Formula One story will be underway. Every year, the Mercedes-Benz factory throws a between-season celebration of motorsport on the roads inside their huge factory in Germany. This year, the 9th annual display had 40,000 enthusiastic fans in attendance. It was a chance for them, mostly factory workers and their families, to get close to the exotic machinery and the world-famous drivers that they would normally only see on television. Mercedes has a long history of winning races and maintains many of those winning machines from the past, inviting prominent drivers from past and present to parade them, with due care and attention, of course. They were joined by modern cars, safety cars, the McLaren SLR road car, and some of the Formula 3 Euro Series machines. Bernd Schneider is a superstar in Germany, 4 times winner of the German Touring Car Championship, and he was given a tour in a replica of the very first car built by the firm. While we do the best we can, no TV program can ever give you the earth-shaking thunder and awesome power of an angry machine fully provoked. Some came to see the new SLR supercar, or the Silver Arrows, or get very close to not just one but a whole team of Formula Ones. Others got a chance to actually drive their dream cars, while slightly older would-be racers get to test their skills virtually. Some supported their favourite models or their favourite drivers. Although it was sunny outside, the museum was warm and hundreds went inside. Drivers from all categories were more accessible than they've ever been to their legion of fans, as the stars signed autographs, posed for pictures, made speeches and just generally mixed with the crowds.
Oh, it's nice to come here. Nice to see that so much people cheering for us, and I think it's very important for the people to see the car running.
I think this is a unique event in motorsport calendar that our manufacturer has all of these different forms of motorsport represented, even going way back to the history of the early cars.
The factory has always recognised the contribution made by motorsport and the heroes who raced their cars. Christian Lautenschlager was one of the century's early winners. Races were once held on the same roads around the factory. The legendary Fangio was another Mercedes winner. Scotsman David Coulthard and his Finnish teammate Kimi have both won races under the three-pointed star. In the days when drivers wore suits, lapel pins were awarded, but now it's small trophies. Sterling Moss collected several pins. Nowadays, teams of unsung test drivers support the racing stars by doing much of the development work. In the old days, even drivers like Fangio tested and developed the cars themselves. Kimi signed hundreds of autographs. So did Bernd and Jean Alesi, ex-Formula One turned DTM star. Even motorsport boss Norbert Haug signed a few, and one fan got a special photo. Mercedes provides high-performance AMG-modified safety cars for several racing classes. Bernd Schneider drives the Formula One response vehicle. But the highlight of the day was the pit stop comparison. First in was a mid-50s Silver Arrow with knock-on spinners. Note the left-hand threads on the wheels on the right side of the vehicle, which prevent them coming undone as the car travels forward. It'll take about half a minute for these 6 men to change all 4 wheels. Next in was Formula One test driver Alexander Wurz, back out with 4 new boots in 4.5 seconds. Now for Schneider's DTM team, a second faster with less men. But for most fans, the Formula One drivers were who they'd come to see, and both Kimi and David have fiercely loyal supporters. Even McLaren boss Ron Dennis was in demand as the teams threw caps into the crowd and handed out posters and postcards. But finally, with just time for a group photo, the day was over.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
The 46th running of the traditional NASCAR Winston Cup season opening race got off to a clean start, and 60 laps were covered before the first big crash of the day.
Okay, now don't forget.
Jamie McMurray squeezed Rusty Wallace into another car and they started a crash which involved several cars. Wallace finished the race in 29th place. McMurray limped on for 15 laps, but Ken Schrader was taken out there and then. 11 laps later, there was an even bigger tangle. The field was bunched tightly and a chain reaction set off a crash that totaled several cars. The biggest loser in the incident was Michael Waltrip, his car flipping over 3 times in mid-air. Waltrip's car came to a rest on the infield upside down. Rescue crews raced to the car, but took way too long to cut the driver free from his harness.
Attending to Michael Waltrip's car and the others involved in this big crash.
Not too long afterwards, Waltrip, unhurt and walking on his own, waved to the crowd to show that he was fine.
Take the stretcher and put it back. We don't need it.
Finally, Dale Earnhardt Jr. made the move on leader Tony Stewart with 19 laps left, going on to win his first Daytona 500. 6 years ago to the day, his father Dale Earnhardt Sr. won his only Daytona 500. 7 times NASCAR champion Dale Earnhardt took 19 years to win the 500, but his son won at his 5th attempt. Just the 3rd time a father and son have both won the event. 3 years ago, his father was killed in the race. The Hershey's 300 Busch Series event was postponed for 2 days by rain after 31 of 120 laps. But the race saw a 9-car crash just 10 laps after the restart. Several of those involved were experienced Winston Cup drivers like Mike Wallace in car 4. Dale Earnhardt Jr. could have relaxed and enjoyed his Daytona 500 win of the day before, but instead he slipped on his flameproofs and returned to work at the same track. He took the lead on lap 85, gave it up briefly, then pulled away from everyone except Johnny Sauber and crossed the line 2 car lengths ahead. Afterwards, he was asked how much rest he got after winning NASCAR's biggest race.
Oh, real focused. I could have done it on an all-nighter, no problem, man. I mean, it's just, it's awesome. It's kind of like a little bonus action to be able to get up on Monday and still do some driving after winning the Daytona 500. This is almost like extra credit.
What have the last 12 hours of your life been like?
Well, it just seems to keep getting better, but I'm just really enjoying the victory that we got yesterday in the Daytona 500. I mean, that's going to always go down as the greatest win of my career, you know, and I didn't think I'd ever be able to top the Winston that I won in my rookie season. But, you know, winning the Daytona 500 is a feeling like no other.
He was 2nd in the shootout, 3rd in practice for the 500, and nearly won the sports car endurance race. It's a logical extension. Mercedes have dropped the top on their CLK Coupe, making it into a stylish 4-seater cabrio. 4-seater cabrios are rare. Opel and Volkswagen build much smaller ones, and with good reason. Without the stiffness provided by a roof, the lengthy structure of a 4-seater car can become flexible and creaky. Mercedes have always built stiff cars, but the new cabrio is especially strengthened to make sure that there's no trace of creaks and bending. It keeps the traditional solid Mercedes feel, smooth, quiet and well-oiled. Engineers reinforced the floor, sides, underbody and other areas, maintaining that distinctive Mercedes-Benz experience. The basic CLK comes with a 3.2-litre V6 that delivers a decent kick under acceleration. This car doesn't specialise in tyre smoking starts off the line. Instead, drivers get a steady surge in power. People who like a bit more grunt can opt for the CLK 500 Cabrio's 5-litre V8, or for the ultimate in top-down CLK experience, the CLK 55 AMG Cabrio that packs a modified 5.5-litre V8 under the bonnet. Whatever the engine, power is delivered to the rear wheels via an electronically controlled 5-speed automatic gearbox. The transmission also has touch shift, a sequential shift feature that will learn the driver's habits. Speed-sensitive power steering helps ensure an enjoyable experience while throwing this car into corners, and the standard electronic stability program helps you keep out of trouble in the process. But if a careless driver manages to overtax the car's safety system and flip it onto its back, a roll bar built into the headrests will pop up when sensors detect a possible rollover situation. It's a feature which should be fitted to every convertible. Comfort is looked after in this car too. It has lots of standard features, including power tilt and telescopic steering wheel adjustment, 10-way adjustable powered front seats, dual-zone automatic air conditioning, leather upholstery, power windows, a sound system with speed-sensitive ambient volume adjustment, and a smart key with remote locking and unlocking. Unlike the smaller 2-seat SLK and SL, the CLK gets a fabric roof rather than the folding steel roof. It still goes up and down at the touch of a button, taking just 17 seconds to transform from opened to closed transport. And as a means of transport, it's certainly something out of the ordinary. Millions of us do it every day, drive a vehicle with at least one child on board. 3 years ago, the Safe Kids campaign graded American states' child safety laws. It rated safety seat laws and the correct restraints of children in all seating positions. The A 2001 report revealed deficiencies in laws, gaps in coverage, insufficient penalties, and exemptions that allowed drivers to ignore laws and leave children unprotected. A progress report reveals 34 states still allow unrestrained child passengers in certain circumstances.
Well, child document protection laws have always covered the youngest of children, and thankfully we've seen the death and injury rate go down best amongst our youngest children. And that's why we need booster seat language, because a good, strongly enforced law that does include booster seats for children will mean that we'll see the same progress with older kids.
At the General Motors Crash Worthiness Lab in Michigan, tests are run to study the effects of injuries to a child not in a booster seat caused by a 30-mile-an-hour frontal impact. The results stress how important it is for children weighing over 40 pounds to be in safety belt positioning booster seats until the safety belts alone fit them correctly.
This dummy is of a size that he really should be in a booster seat. We've set this up as if it was that size child sitting in the seat. And if you think about it, a child that size is going to scoot forward to be comfortable. He's going to want his feet to hang down. When he does that, he's got a fair distance between his back and buttocks and the seat back. And what happens is this lap belt, instead of being low on the bony hips or across the top of the thighs, is up in the soft abdominal area. During a crash, this can cause all kinds of injuries to the soft organs that are in this area.
The slow-motion replay shows graphically what happens in a sudden frontal crash, and this is at just 30 miles an hour, just 48 kilometers an hour.
And because the shoulder belt was running across its neck and face, which is uncomfortable, we found in the field that children will either put the shoulder belt underneath the arm, or as we've done in this case, they put it right behind their back and sit there with just the lap belt. This type of a setup, along with the abdominal injuries, will see spinal cord injuries to the children.
This time it's even worse. Belt positioning booster seats are the best way to help protect older kids. Yet only 19% of American children who should be restrained in booster seats actually use them. Tests like these show that using booster seats can help prevent or lessen injury to children in a crash. GM safety engineers and child passenger safety experts hope to drive home to parents exactly how booster seats work and why it's so important to make sure that kids are in them. Children over 40 pounds or 18 kilos should be in belt positioning booster seats or other child restraints until the adult lap and shoulder belts fit. Booster seats help younger children who have outgrown child safety seats to sit all the way back without having to slouch, with their knees bent over the edge of the seat.
We need to make sure that the child's hips are all the way back in the seat, that their knees are in front of the seat and their feet hang down, that the lap belt is on the bony hips or the top of the thighs, not up in the soft abdominal area, that the shoulder belt comes across the chest and across the collarbone, not across the face and the neck, and the child has to be able to sit that way for the entire length of the trip, and then he's properly protected.
During Child Passenger Safety Week, hundreds of roadside safety checks were held right across America. Technicians checked child safety seats free of charge for age and size appropriateness and proper installation and use. Safe Kids operate in Australia, Austria, Brazil, Canada, China, Japan, Korea, the Philippines, South Africa, the UAE, Uganda, the US and Vietnam. The tricky course in Pesaro meant that there were some early casualties at the Grand Prix of Italy, 7th round of the World Championship. Albert Cabastani of Spain suffered mechanical problems, and Briton Graham Jarvis failed to reach the final after scoring 5 penalties in 2 of the 6 sections. However, defending champion Adam Raga of Spain, the season's dominant rider, was aiming for his 3rd victory in a row and his 4th of the championship. The World Indoor Trials Championship leader and gas rider incurred 14 penalties over the 7 different sections in the final round. The dog-loving, pasta-eating 21-year-old Spaniard has been a class apart this season, But standing between him and another win were the Montesa HRC teammates of Takahisa Fujinami of Japan and Briton Dougie Lamkin. The final couldn't have been closer. Sections were attempted in reverse order in the final, making the circuit more difficult and selective after Fujinami's name had been added to the list after he just edged out Marc Friescher of Spain. With Raga leading the way on 14 penalty points, Fujinami accumulated a total of 15 penalty points over the 7 different sections in the final. He'd lost out on a first place by a whisker, but eventually took second place overall after beating Lamkin in the playoff. The legendary Lamkin also incurred 15 penalty points over the 7 different sections in the final, but he had to settle for third place overall after Fujinami sealed second place. The final high jump in the playoff proved crucial as Lamkin failed once more over one of his least popular events. With victory assured, it was time for some celebratory donuts from Raga. With his 3rd victory in a row and his 4th of the championship, Raga extended his lead in the championship standings to 14 points over his main rival Lamkin, the 5 times world indoor champion. The Englishman is just 4 points ahead of Fujinami. With 5 rounds remaining, starting with the Grand Prix of Portugal in Lisbon, the Spaniard is now in a great position to successfully defend his title. Finally this week, the French seaside resort of Le Touquet, normally a sleepy village of 300 inhabitants out of season, was overrun by tens of thousands of motorcycle enthusiasts for the 29th staging of the Enduro de Touquet beach race. This year, 953 bike racers entered for a grueling mixture of technical dune racing and flat-out speed around the 16-kilometre circuit. And first away from the start was Cyril Dupre, riding the same KTM 660 that took him to 3rd place in this year's Paris-Dakar Rally. Dupre was keen to win the Whole Shot Award, to be the first into the dune section at Merlimont after an 8-kilometre dash along the beach. But the Frenchman only finished 7 laps and was classified 300th as the heavy sand of the dunes took their toll, and he wasn't the only one to suffer. 4 times winner Arnaud de Meester on bike number 2 had the early advantage, but by the 3rd lap he was locked in a desperate struggle with Jean-Claude Mousse on bike number 11. Behind them, Timothée Podesek was holding on to 3rd place with champion Thierry Baptiste challenging hard, desperate to retain the title he won last year and make it 4 wins in the last 5 years. De Meester crashed on lap 7, costing the Frenchman over 15 minutes. Mousse led after the 2nd hour and managed 12 laps to win after 3 hours and 4 minutes, 2.5 minutes ahead of Podesek. Baptiste also lost out in the latter stages and crossed the line over 9 minutes off the pace. All 3 were riding Hondas. A separate quad bike relay race saw over 200 competitors in a Le Mans-style running start. The qualifying session gave pole position to the Dutch Van Delft brothers, but having lost the key, the pair hardly featured in the race, which was a battle between the Yamahas of reigning champions Michael Pinchon and Blaise Perron on number 1, and challengers Romain Capri and Pascal de Palma on number 2. Capri and De Palma had a 4-minute lead on the 21st lap, Capri taking the checkered flag to win his first Le Touquet title ahead of Pinchon and Perrent. So whether you like your action sandy, smoky or classy, so you stay on track and up to speed, make sure you catch next week's Drive.